Hello, everybody. My name is Mark Mandel. I am a developer advocate for Google Cloud. This is my regular stream on a Tuesday morning Pacific time. We're working on a fun project called Agones today. Pretty much the same project I usually work on, which is a open source solution for running multiplayer games, games that run dedicated game servers. And the thing I want to work on today is extending the GameServer SDK that exists inside Agones and making it do some more stuff. So why don't we actually switch screencast? Here we go. Cool. So we have, actually, what's the best way of explaining this? Let's actually, you know what? Let's come over here. Let's move my mic over. There we go. So, Agones works on dedicated game servers. And what that means is there's a single process that, that runs the simulation of entire game server. And Agones basically makes sure that those go up and come down and be able to have player connections and all that kind of stuff. One of the things that we do is that we integrate an SDK, and this SDK exists such that so we can basically track sort of lifecycle events more than anything else at this point in time within the game server. So like, hey, I'm ready to accept connections. Hey, I'm still healthy. Hey, I'm ready to shut down. Like, kill me right now. I'm all good. Just kill me. That kind of stuff. Why is GitHub not loading? That's fun. Yep. No, internet went down. Whee! There we go. So we should be back. That should be better. There we go. And we're live again. My internet dropped out because that's what internet things do. All right, so I was talking about Agones and dedicated game servers. So we have these simulation processes that run inside Agones. They're basically the full game server that run as a single process. And what happens is we have this SDK that exists inside each of these game server processes. And the job of this SDK is to say things like, hey, this game server is ready, or this health check is pinged in an appropriate time, or we're going to shut down, that kind of stuff. It's really kind of lifecycle stuff that sort of sits within that game server process. And what I want to do is actually extend this. We've had some really interesting discussions on our issues where we're talking about, let's see if I can find them. Yeah, so things like being able to provide session data to the game server. So how do I know when I connect? So if I want to grab a game server, how do I basically say, oh, this might be interesting if you loaded this map or something like that instead. So that would be really nice. So how do we go about and doing that, which is fun? All right. So one of the things we want to do is actually allow you to have access to the setup information that exists inside Agones itself. So if I actually have a look at what we're talking about here, actually in a quick start, that's probably a good spot. We're at quick start, creating a game server. So if you created a game server inside Agones and then say you describe them, right? You say describe the game server, you get all this sort of information about the game server itself, like from configuration, some Kubernetes labels and annotations, as well as sort of your status information to what IP address it's on, what port it's stopped on, what's its status. And those are the big things we want to expose. Those are the things we care about. So what I want to be able to do is basically from the SDK be able to get at not all of this information, but probably a lot of it. Probably a lot of it is fairly important. So we're going to basically do it that way. Cool. All right. I'm just having a quick look. Awesome. Okay. So what do we do and how do we want to do this? So I started doing some of this work basically on the plane when I was coming back from Denmark on the weekend. And so I started doing some of this, but I actually want to go back and double check to see if any of this still works or what I wrote makes sense because I didn't have any references on me. So if you've never played with gRPC before, generally the first place you start is this proto file. This proto file defines what the data is that goes backwards and forwards, and the structure of that data, as well as the services that can be called in there. So you may have seen, like, we, for example, have a ready response, right? This is just a simple ping. So we say RPC ready. And we have a thing called empty, which is literally just an empty byte. Like, it's empty. It's an empty packet, basically. But it gives us a little something we can send backwards and forwards, because gRPC needs a message to send backwards and forwards. And so in this particular case, say ready will be just a simple RPC call, so a remote procedure call, which says, hey, here's an empty item, and then return me an empty thing. That's all good. There's some stuff here as well for where we expose it through HTTP endpoints. We probably may or may not get to that today. It's basically, this is just saying, hey, also expose this via HTTP and JSON on a /ready port. That's it. So that's stuff that already exists. So what I'm doing is I'm creating a new endpoint called get GameServer, for lack of a better term, that takes an empty, because we don't actually care about any of the information that goes in, and returns some kind of GameServer object, which is a bunch of data. And that's the thing we want to work on. So the thing that I want to do first is look at the thing that I wrote while I was on a plane and I had no reference documentation. I was kind of just looking at source code to see if I could work. Is what is this GameServer data structure? What does it look like? And have I done a decent job of annotating it and setting it up properly? As you can see, I have a to-do here. Look at the actual proto reference to see if you're doing the right things. So there's some interesting stuff in here. So there's two things I want to first do here, which is sending the object metadata that comes with the Kubernetes object. So this is stuff like what's its name, what's its resource version, so we know whether it's changed, when was it created, if it may have been deleted or not, as well as annotations and labels, which are just key value pairs that you can add to resources inside Kubernetes, and are super useful for things like searching and basically storing some arbitrary data if you need to store some stuff. And so to define a new data structure inside Kubernetes, inside gRPC, we write this thing called message, and that sort of defines like a type, for lack of a better term. And we can nest these too if you don't want them exposed. So for example, I don't right now want this KX object meta to be exposed. I just want it to be available here. Maybe later I might pull this out, and so it can be used across multiple places. But for right now, I'm quite happy for this to be sort of encapsulated inside here. The same token, I have this game server status, which is the status information. Now, one thing, I have these, so I have these two things. Like I have I have an object meta type, and I have a game server status type, and then basically I can set those as properties up here. One thing I've noticed is if you have these as the same name, so if there's like this type name is object meta and the property name is object meta, it tends to complain at you. So I've got these as different names. And then it's a question of saying, like, what are my data types for each of the things that I have here? And there's a few different data types, and I want to have a look at that to see if I've managed to use the right data types here as well, and make sure that all works too. The other fun thing that probably should be talked about is you might have noticed there's little numbers next to all this stuff. The number is basically, and I may be screwing this up, but the way I think about it anyway is kind of denotes the positional place of where these things are inside the serialization packet, essentially. And this is important for when you want to update things. So, for example, if I want to add a new thing and I want to say like that, I can add a new property, and I might add, say, like string foo. We'll call it foo, and then that would be 10 because I want that to be at the position 10. I can't put it at position 3. That would be bad because I've already got a UID at position 3. But this also means that if I ever want to get rid of UID, I just get rid of it, but I don't ever put anything back at that position. This should be documented, for example, and it allows me to really kind of add and remove things in a convenient way without having to worry about breaking serialization like across the board. Because I could say ignore UID for whatever reason, and I could connect to a gRPC system that sends that through. But because my side is ignoring that, then I'm okay and everything's fine. So what I want to actually look at today is look at the reference of protobuf3 and see if there are any data types that here we go. So that could be used that I wasn't using. So we've used strings, we've used ints, field numbers and field roles. That's all fine. I should grab a drink actually. Reserved field. This can cause if you update a message type by entirely removing a field or commenting it out, future users can reuse the field number when using their own updates. This can cause severe issues. That's what we're talking about. One main trick is to specify the field numbers of your deleted fields are reserved. Oh, that's cool. That's neat. So if you actually make that update, you can be like, those numbers are bad. Don't use them. Cool. I actually didn't know that. That's very new. Okay, so scalar value types. This is what I wanted because most of this can probably be covered by strings and ints. It's worth noting, like I have ports of game servers can now be like arrays, for example. In the backing data structure, I'm not sure if repeated is the right way of using that, so I wanted to kind of have a look. So let's see what's available. So we can do doubles, floats. That's fine, cool. Ints and int64, beautiful. Uints, which I've honestly never really understanding the big difference between ints and uints, but I'm sure someone can tell me. It's fine. Ooh, sints. Yeah, okay, fine. Going down, booleans, strings, and bytes. Okay, so that's really it. Okay, so one thing that I was actually thinking about, for example, here is I have a creation timestamp. And I was wondering if there was some kind of date timestamp or something like that I could use, but it doesn't look like there is. But what I can do is basically use just int64 and move stuff to epoch format. So basically, since the beginning of Linux time or something like that, in seconds. And so I can just do it in seconds. And seconds is fine. I don't think we need nanoseconds for this. And so I can provide that without too much trouble. That seems like a good way of doing that. Okay, cool. Default values for numeric types, default value is 0. That should be perfect. That should be perfect. That'll be interesting. So enumerations, we can do enumerations. We might come back to enumerations. Reason I say that is because game servers have a state value. And we could do that as an enum, right? So there's like allocated, ready, a whole bunch of other stuff. The only thing annoying about that will be that we'll need to track both the state values in two places, which doesn't make me particularly happy. That kind of freaks me out a little, and it could easily break. Whereas I could just pass the state values as a string, which is what they actually are behind the scenes. In fact, if we actually have a look, game server, here we go, beautiful. So you can see we have these states. Here, so creating, starting, request ready, shut down, error, unhealthy, allocated, and those could possibly get expanded. So if we do this as an enum, then we're duplicating that effort in two places. It means we do have some sort of magic strings. So I don't know, pros and cons. So I think we'll leave it as strings, see how we go, and see if that's something we need to go back and fix. Repeated. Okay, so the biggest thing I want to look at, all right, so we talked about enumerations, cool, using other message types. Here we go. This is actually cool. You can use other message types as field types, which is what we've done. I just want to make sure I did that right. For example, let's say you want to include result messages in each search response message. You can define a result message type in the same proto and then specify the field of type result. Okay, so repeat, results. Okay, so they actually use lower cases here. Interesting, whereas I don't think I do. What do I do? I do everything uppercase with my property names. What do they do? Actually, that's a good question. So they use all lowercase. Interesting. I wonder if we can find some more examples of that. I would love to see all of these are all lowercase. Maybe I should change my formatting. Like I said, I did this on the plane, so and they use underscores. Interesting. So we were talking about that. All right, so maybe that's something we update. Result. Maybe then we can change the types to being the same name because they're not going to have the same casing, which probably will work really, really well. Hey, Zephyr. Nice to see you too. Thanks for joining. I have no idea what you're talking about, though. We're talking about game stuff. We're talking about making video games. But just very technical stuff about it. But it's nice to see you. Okay, so what else am I talking about? The big thing I want to look at... Oh, maps is a good one. Okay, so maps, we can create an associative map. We're doing that. That's fine. That's one of the things we're doing. So, for example... on our game server configuration, we have a map of strings, and the map of strings. So that's like an annotation. Those are arbitrary key value pairs, And labels are basically exactly the same thing. If you look at Kubernetes resources, so if we have a game server and you create a game server, actually, let's have a look at that. I think I do this as an example, for example. Inside this metadata section, inside our configuration, we can put arbitrary key value pairs. And we're probably going to put some more features around that so that you can actually put things like what kind of game server is it, who you want to have play on it. Maybe you have an Xbox only version and you want to tag it so you can find them, that kind of stuff. It's super handy. Sifir, how goes? It goes well. Yeah, I started streaming. I do a lot of coding streaming. It's fun. Twitch is fun. It's good to see you too, though. We'll have to make sure we go to the same game dev event at some point soon. That would be lovely. Okay, so map's good. This is the only thing that really freaks me out a little is this repeated stuff. So let's have a look at that. I want to have a look at that real quick too. Because yeah, we can do, okay, we're doing maps. Maps is lovely. We can actually do some other fun things. Where are we defining services? It's not what we care about. What am I doing? What am I doing? Not enumerations. Wait, let's look at repeated. Doesn't seem like. Is there a good definition of repeated? No, there's not. That's not a thing. Okay, but it seems like it's fine. Oh, here we go. JSON mapping. Okay, repeated V becomes an array. Okay, that's easy enough. Cool. Safir, planning on PAX Dev again. If I get accepted to speak, I will definitely be there at PAX Dev. I might be there anyway, because there's a bunch of people in Seattle I want to go visit. We'll see. But hopefully they accept me, which would be lovely. I want to talk about open source a lot. And doing open source things in the wider game development space. That would be super nice if they accept my talk. You can call you Tanya? Okay, I just wasn't sure. I defer to the name that I see on chat rather than real names, just in case, depending on what people want. But yes, it is good to see you, Tanya. What am I doing? Okay, so this looks pretty good. I want to have a look at proto naming convention. There we go. Like, what's the here we go, style guide. Perfect. Use camel case for message names, use underscore separate names for field names. Okay, so that's something that they like, and I need to change. Okay, and enums should be that. That's good. This is actually really well documented, which is nice, which is great. Thank you, Tanya. Well, it's lovely. It's super nice to see you. Okay, so all right, so we can probably do several things. Now, the nice thing is, actually, we have some nice refactoring stuff in here. Object meta. That will change a lot of the stuff. So we're gonna have to redo stuff. So that's okay. So this should be status. Beautiful. So I don't think we need a full refactor for this because, let's have a look. GST, yeah, that's fine. So the okay, so I'm gonna try to do a few things first. Actually, this should be then UID, which is lowercase, resource underscore version, generation, as we creation underscore timestamp. Deletion underscore timestamp. Wow, this is fascinating stuff. Annotations, labels, same thing down here. Name, port, state, address, ports. Okay. So what I will do right now is I'm going to run the generation script. So gRPC has a bunch of generators that basically take these proto files and creates the code for us. And I've got a script that does this for me across how many different languages now? A bunch. Package, no, not package. How many we got? SDKs. So for C++, for Go, and for Rust, at least at this point in time. The other thing it also does for interest sake is, if you're familiar, it'll create a Swagger and an OpenAPI spec, same thing basically. So if you want to do this over REST and JSON, you can do that also, which is super nice. So I'm going to, I've make targets for my development scripts, say like, hey, generate this stuff. So we're just going to fire those off. And all the tooling is kind of in there. So we'll just install a bunch of stuff and away we go. And it doesn't look like it's arrowing. So that's good. Okay, so that didn't die. That's good. We can actually go have a look if we're interested. Where are we? Is it there? No, it's not there. Package SDK. Yeah, here we go. So we can see that a bunch of code got generated for us, which was lovely. We can even got our to-dos in there. So the other thing I would really like to do is I've never been particularly happy with this being called K8's object meta. I would like it to be object meta. So let's change that. And I would like this to just be called status because we're already in a game server. So there's that. So now that everything's lowercase and like underscore case, that should be a lot nicer to read and easy to use. So in theory, this should be fun. Okay, so now let's generate that again and see if anything failed. Running. Okay, that looks like it was good. Awesome. That makes me really happy. This also will mean that we have much nicer... Oh no, we have some much nicer types. GameServer object meta. I don't know why it puts underscores in the Go code. It's kind of ugly, but it's just what gRPC does. So meh, I don't know. But that's fine. That's fine. Okay, cool. All right, so that's better. That is better. SDKs go. I think we'll find some stuff that might be broken. Let's have a look. Run test go. Nope, it's fine. Okay, cool. I didn't actually break anything from everything I'd run before. So this looks okay. So this is my test. I can, because these are interfaces, I can mock them out, which is kind of nice. Where's my mock for Git game server? Okay, so right now it just panics, which is totally fine. I should write some tests around this, and we'll get to that in a minute. But I kind of just want to make this thing work, which I think will be more fun. All right, so what do we want to do next? Okay, so that seems pretty good. I have done some work on this in a bit, so here we go. So one thing we do have, game servers, yes, is this SDK sits as basically a process. There's actually a process, which is why we use gRPC, that the game server connects to over gRPC and then does stuff with, essentially. And sends these communications, these RPC calls, like, hey, I want you to be ready or shut down, that kind of stuff. And what's the words I'm thinking of? I am thinking of... and so we need to check we need to do the work to make sure this works. Now, there are actually two versions of this that kind of run. So we actually have this local mode for, we have a local mode for, what's the word I'm looking for? A local mode for this sidecar SDK, so you can do local development. So we can test to make sure that still works. It looks like this is all fine, except the fact it's not. All right, so the first test I want to do is get this working again. Because we restructured all the proto files, this is all broken. And basically the job of the local SDK server is to just kind of log stuff and like fake things and pretend like it's real so that we can make game servers and connect to them and do stuff. So for example, like for a ready request, it's literally all it's going to do is just say, hey, I've received a request. And like, so you can see the log. And then when you're building this stuff, you can actually see the things that are meant to happen as you're meant to happen. So get game server, all I wanted to do is create a fake game server and spit that back. So the SDK is like, oh, I've got stuff. I can do stuff with it. It's not, it'd be nice if some of this stuff was maybe configurable a little bit, but we can, one step at a time. So this is no longer game server object meta. It's game server object meta. There we go. Why is you? Oh, interesting. Okay, ooh. So the way that got generated is UID because that's like the casing, and it would be nice if we could make that all capital letters. I wonder if that's even a possibility. Can we do that? Let's have a look. Is there a language guide? Options. Can we annotate it within our options or name declaration? Java package, optimize for, nope. Allows you to define your on options. Okay, I don't think I need to do that. I mean, it's not a big deal, but it would be nice. Okay, I'm not going to worry about it. Yeah, I don't think... Okay, I'm not going to worry about it. It would be nice if that was all, UID is like all uppercase, but I will live. I will live. So now I can make this a game server status and everything else. Okay, and this is a game server status port. And everything is good. My wife is taking photos of my dog who's asleep behind me. I'm trying to work out what's going on. She's very cute. All right. That all looks like it's good. All right, so let's build. Let's just run the SDK binary. So I've got, like I said, I've got a bunch of make commands that do a lot of this work for me. This is going to basically build the SDK library across Linux, Mac, and OS X. Doggo wants to program too. She does. She likes to help. She has very important points that she likes to buff me with and tell me that stuff is very important. Now she's awake. If I was sitting on my standing desk, then I would put her in the shot. She is a big silly monkey. Okay, so things broke. Boom. Because the actual implementation broke. Okay, let's go back and fix that. So SDK server. Let's actually grab this. Oops. Let's grab that and paste that in there. It'll take us to the problem. Okay, so that should be a pointer. Okay, so we're going to come back to this in a minute. That's my wife in the background. You can see her. She also wants to code. No, she doesn't want to code. Hey, Sooks. Okay. So this returns a, oh yeah, that's bad. That's wrong. So what I was trying to do here, we're going to come back to this. Actually, we're just gonna fake this for now. And everything should be fine. Yeah, that's right. I was hoping the microwave wasn't going to ruin my Wi-Fi signal. Cool. I'm just gonna fudge this for now. Yeah, because that real stuff is not gonna happen. Okay, so I'm not gonna worry about that just yet. How are we doing for time? Alrighty. See if I can get her to wave. That would be funny. She'll be back any minute. All right, so this is compiling. Basically what I want to do is I want to run the local mode. We can actually curl the local mode and do that. Here comes my wife again. Here she comes. Oh, she's hiding. She's hiding behind me. Cool. So what I want to do is run the local mode, just do a curl and see the JSON that comes back. And hopefully everything, cross fingers, works according to plan. Actually, let's create, while that's happening, I will cd commands SDK server. No, cd command SDK server. All right, and we'll go into bin. All right. Yeah, this builds all the things. You can see here, it's creating the server one. You can see we've created the Mac one. We've created the Linux one. Actually, we've created the Linux one, so I could just use it. And we'll see if this works. But I'd like to have it finished. That would make me happy. Whoa. All right. Oh, and now we're just zipping them up so that I have copies of them. Okay, that's fine then. All right, so to run this locally, for interest's sake, if you're actually doing Agones stuff, you pass -- local. Is pretty much the short answer. Are you standing up? I am standing up. I have a standing desk, so I can do this. And I can dance and stuff. That's basically the reasons. Cool. And okay. And so this is started up. It started a. You can see in the details. There's the gRPC port. There's the HD port. They're just random ports I chose. You can see all the configuration stuff. And we've started up the gRPC service. And the gRPC gateway is the thing that actually exposes gRPC as HTTP, so you can do both. And so if we curl it, okay, cool. We can see that that information is coming back. We see a log saying getting GameServer details. Sweet. And we get back a whole bunch of JSON saying like all this interesting stuff. Like here's the UUID, which is like not a UUID, but it's fine. Creation timestamp as an epoch, which is now state ready. Here's an address that's not an address, but it's fine. Like that's all good. So we get state back. Sweet. So I'm actually going to commit this. Commit -a and git commit. These are all just DSH aliases. Cool. Wow, what's running so slow? Is something happening in the background? It's probably just OBS or something. All right, cool. Updated proto with better styling and regenerated code. Cool. All right. Sweet. So, next big question is going to be, can we make this thing actually work? So what we'll also do in the background, I'm just going to start up the Minikube test cluster. Let's do that. Oh, I have no VirtualBox. Okay, that's fine. That's another thing entirely. Okay, so if that's the case, if I go to console, we'll just do this on GKE, and we'll call it a day. Yep, sweet. Do I have a cluster? Well, I tell you what, we can find out. I think I do have a cluster already set up. Compute engine, Kubernetes engine. This is my test project. Cool, I have a test cluster. All right, cool. And what version of Kubernetes is it running? 1.9.7. Okay, so it is not the version I want. So let's, I'm going to delete this and we'll create a new one. Delete. Yes. We'll come back to that. So I just want to have this running in the background so that we don't have to worry about it too much. In which case then what I'll also do, inside our build system, we have a set of local include so that we can update stuff. All right, so this is basically, I'm setting this up so that when I build stuff, it'll end up going to a place that it goes to my test server instead, rather than building essentially the production naming stuff. But I usually just run locally, which is fine. Okay. So that's a bit better. So wait, we're waiting for that to die, so I'm not going to worry about it. All right. So, there's a couple of fun things in here that I think I'm okay with. So this SDK server, the only thing we want it to look at, and this is the real SDK server implementation that runs on top of Kubernetes. The only thing we really want it to look at is the game server that it is running on. So this sidecar SDK server basically runs alongside the game server process. And the only thing it really ever cares about or interacts with is the resources and the configuration for that specific game server. So I've already kind of set this up to be, actually, let's take a step back. One thing that the code for interacting with Kubernetes, which is client Go, does, which is kind of cool and really useful, is it has this things called informers and listers. Basically, the short version is it basically maintains a cache or a cache, depending on what country you're from, of what's going on inside the Kubernetes cluster. Usually, actually, it maintains like all of it in memory, which is really great because you can just be like, hey, this particular game server or resource, whatever, give me that thing, give me that thing, give me that thing, give me that thing. It's only ever hitting the local cache, and you're not hitting the actual Kubernetes API, which means that you get better performance, which is really good, and the Kubernetes API doesn't like fall over because you just keep hitting it too much. So there are these things called informer factories or shared informer factories, which is like a shared cache. This is a single process that actually doesn't care about anything like that, but I think we can format this a little better so it's a bit more readable on one line. But there's also a filtered shared informer factory, which basically says, like, I only want to cache very specific things. So I've set one of those up. I don't know if this works or not, so this should be fun. So I have a filtered shared informer factory. We pass in a client, right? So we have a generated client for accessing Agones resources. There's a resync period. Basically, it goes back around and says, like, hey, is everything the way it should be? So we're just going to do that every 30 seconds. We can filter it by namespace, which we actually want to do. This is exactly what we want to do, because we only want to look at the specific namespace for this particular game server. And then there's this thing called this filter func that allows you to basically set a variety of list options, on here. So I haven't tested this, but I think this might work. List options have things like allow us to have field selectors, essentially, like be able to look at the configuration of what we've set up and basically limit based on those. So I have noticed there's a package called fields inside ClientGo, which is a one-term equal selector. So we can do that. We can create these things called selectors. So metadata.name is the name of the game server. And we only want types of kind game server, right? So those are our things. And then we can group them together by going and then that'll give us a string. And you know what I'm also going to do? Oh, do I have a log yet? I do not have a log. That's annoying. Okay, that's fine. I was going to actually log the output of that just to see what was going on, but I think we'll be fine. We'll see what happens. We'll see if what happens. All right, so the theory being that with this configuration, it's only ever going to look at and cache this game server's events. That's my theory. That is my ultimate theory. We'll see if this works. And basically cache the data for only this specific game server. This means then what I can actually do is use a lister, because a lister will be updated. The cache will be updated whenever the changes happen because there's an event registration system. And so, if we go all the way down to our get game server, I have a get game server lister, so I'm backed by cache. I say game server is for the specific namespace, and I say get the particular game server. I actually should check this error. Error does not return. No, actually, there's that. That's actually what it should be. If that fails, that's bad. Now, what we need to do at this point, right? So we're getting a game server resource out of Kubernetes, and it's in one format. And what we want to do is actually take this format and put it into the format we need for gRPC, because they're separate, and I don't think there's a good magical way of like munging the two together so that they're actually the same object. So we're going to need to write some kind of conversion routine. I was thinking about this a lot, and I was wondering if it makes sense to do it inside, say here inside the game server object. I could have a function that gives me the gRPC object, which is that the responsibility of the game server itself? Maybe. The other thought I had was maybe it actually makes more sense to do it here because it's specific to gRPC, and therefore I would probably want to have a conversion function in here to take one for another. In fact, I think that's what makes me the happiest. I think it is. I think what I really want to do is have something that's like return something like s.convert the game server, something like that, right? Something that takes the Kubernetes version of the game server and flips it into the gRPC version of the game server, and that should be testable as well, which should be nice. Yeah, that seems kind of legit. I think that makes me happy. We'll see how we go. So we're going to create that convert GS pointer to a game server, not SDK, but a stable v1 alpha 1, and then return a pointer to a game server. Beautiful. I'm gonna put this just under here. Actually, it's gonna make me happy. All right. Convert a K8 game server resource object into a gRPC SDK game server object. Whee! Okay, this is going to be boring. I apologize in advance. This is going to be boring. All right, so let's just give me a result, and we'll have it as a SDK, actually pointer. So let's do that. SDK game server. Is there anything out of the gate that I can set? Nope, I'm not going to do that. All right. Actually, we could probably just do a lot of this in line. Yeah. But I think the arrays section will probably means we can't do it all in line, but we can try. So we'll see how far we end up. Let's turn that way. There we go. So what do we got? Let's start with object meta because That's important. Where are we? Game server, object meta, comma. What are all the fields? All right, there are lots of them. Can you just fill in all of them? Would that be nice? Could you do that? I wonder if it would. No. All right, it was worth a shot. Unresolved reference GS. Oh, whoops. That's better. Okay. Object meta. Actually, you know what would be handy? Just pop in here and and copy. Just want to copy. Let's go back here. Splat. Don't need that. Don't need that. All right. Cool. And go to the end, and then boom, and then I don't know. Nil. Nil probably won't work, but it gives me. That was fun. All right. Now we can populate this, and I don't have to worry too much. For interest's sake, you'll notice there's a bunch of all these XX type things. That's all just gRPC stuff that sets up. Don't play with those. Leave those alone. All right. Name gs.objectMeta. Actually, object meta. Going to make that a variable, and we'll call it object meta. Meta is actually pretty good. I like that. That works. Cool. Meta dot namespace meta dot UID. Now I think that's going to fail because it says that it is a type UID and it's not a string, but behind the scenes a type UID is actually a string. So let's just convert it to a string. Sweet. Meta dot resource version is a string. Meta dot generation is int64, so that all matches up. Meta dot creation timestamp dot Unix, which from memory, let's just double check that. Unix returns T as Unix time, number of seconds elapsed since 1970, 1st of July. Perfect. That's exactly what we want. This should be interesting. So deletion timestamp. So deletion timestamp gets set when whatchamacallit, when the resource gets deleted. So like if you have a game server running and you're like, I want to shut you down, or I'm just going to delete you, then before anything happens in the background, the deletion timestamp gets set. So if you have something that's like in the process of being deleted, you can actually check it through using the deletion timestamp. So I'm kind of curious to see how that works and that information comes through. So, but we'll see. Now this is interesting. Annotations are a map string, which I think will translate annotations, which are a map string. Okay. Yeah, things are working the way they should. Nice. Labels. All right, sweet. That wasn't too bad. So that's pretty cool. Let's now do status, and that will be an SDK pointer. Sorry. That's just how it game server status. Lovely. Let's repeat the same trick. Just do this. Oops. And then do this, and do this, and then just do that, and do that. All right. Alrighty. All right. So state will be actually game server dot status dot state. And we're gonna have the same problem in that a state is a state type, but a state type behind the scenes is a string. So we can convert that to a string. That's not too bad. We can just say make that a string. I think I'm going to keep that as a string. I think that gives us a lot of flexibility. I don't like stuff where you have to keep two things in sync at the same time. It tends to be kind of fragile. Address, there we go. Let's actually pull this into a variable, all two occurrences, status is perfect, beautiful. I love the refactoring support that comes in IntelliJ. That makes me super happy. Makes this kind of stuff really simple. Okay, ports are nil, that's fine. We're gonna need to loop around and create these ports and add them, so we can actually delete that whole line. All right, so loop around and add all the ports. I'm going to add a to do up here as well. To do write tests. Okay. There we go. Something to do while I'm in front of the television. How are we doing for time? We're doing okay. We'll see whether. Okay, actually, while we're doing that, let's have a look here. Okay, my deployment's gone. G-Cloud test cluster. So I even have this stuff all set up for the development toolchain, so I can basically just set up test clusters and do all that kind of fun stuff without too much difficulty. Yeah, so I'll leave that running in the background. I'll set up a 3-node cluster, and we can maybe play with it in a bit. I have to run a Minikube, but the Minikube doesn't want to work today, so I will have to have a look at why that is. Okay. Loop around and add all the ports. All right, so for underscore p equals gs. No, where are we? Status dot ports. Oops, nope. I need a range. That's better. So looping around all the ports, and then we need to create a gRPC port. Equals GameServer underscore status port. Yes. And its details are name should be p.name and port should be p.port. Cool, cool. All right. So then result dot status dot ports equals boom boom boom. Append status to ports and gRPC port. That is not happy. Why is it not happy? I'm willing to bet because everything from gRPC comes back as a pointer, which it does. So these need to be pointers. Okay, so we have our conversion. Sweet. Okay. This is inevitably going to break. You betch. Something will go wrong. That all looks pretty good. G-Cloud cluster failed. Why? I'm having a fun day. Fingerprint resource type container v1 cluster 400 code 400 master blah 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 100. Oh, they've updated the version. Blah. All right. Delete that. Yeah, they do that all the time. GKE cluster versions. Release notes, perfect. I wish there was a through the gcloud command, you can just be like, give me 1.10. Through the APIs and deployment manager, it doesn't look like that's just a thing, which makes things fun. We probably won't get to fix this today, just because I do need to leave at 10 o'clock. All right, so what I'm not going to do then is do that. I will grab this one, which is generally available, because it will hang out longer. Or will it? Yeah, we can go for the latest. I'm quite happy about that. For interest's sake, if I come to Kubernetes engine, and I want to create a cluster. Here we go. Boom. Yeah, so they took that away. They took it away. They're so mean. All right. I'm gonna have to do this. I will whatchamacallit, put that into a separate PR. Test cluster. All right, go do that now. I will come back for you. I will come back for you later. That's fine. Okay, so that looks like it should work. We will see if... Oh. What are the 25% C++ in the projects? Why aren't they in Go 2? Oh, Damie asks an interesting question. So the C++ in the project actually is the SDKs, which is literally what we're talking about here. So so pretty much all the infrastructure stuff is all in Go, all of it, absolutely. But we need to have SDKs that go into the actual game servers themselves, so the simulation servers that are generated, and a lot of those are written in C++. So we need an SDK that they can integrate into their system to tell us stuff like, are they healthy or are they ready, and that kind of stuff. And that's just what we're extending right now. So that's a good question. Bokshi asks whether I'm running GNOME. I'm actually running GNOME fallback with the Xmonad tiling window manager. that's my Linux setup. Oh, that's failed too. What? Wow, this really hates me. I don't think I'm going to get to fix this today. What have I done? I keep asking for deployment versions that they don't have for some reason. Spinning. All right. Delete that. Release notes. Oh, I didn't adjust it. Whoops. My bad. Where are we? Cluster YAML. Yep. Nope. Totally didn't change. Totally didn't change at all. I wonder if there's a way we can handle that in a way that I can be like, just give me whatever the latest 1.10 is. That would be nice. That would be really nice, actually. All right, we're not gonna worry about that today because it's not gonna happen. All right, so what we can do though is just make sure all our tests still pass. For SDK server, let's look. Make sure everything compiles. That's a good start. And that looks worrying. Yeah, that looks like I broke things. That looks like I legit broke things. Yeah, that looks like I legit broke things. I wonder what I broke. This should be fun. Oh, I didn't catch the distro. I'm running Debian. It's just Debian. What do we call it? Stretch. Boom. Okay, I broke stuff good. Oh my god. Yeah. I broke stuff good. All right. And I'm willing to. Actually, I wonder what I broke. All right, that's fun. All right, so I broke a bunch of stuff. That's still wrong. All right, I will come back to that. We're actually going to reset the. Actually, check out the GKE test. All right, so I'm going to commit this. First pass at conversion from Kates to gRPC. Tests are broken. Sad face. Okay, so yep, I broke all my tests. That's what we do. We break stuff. That's what we do. All right, test sidecar run. Let's open this up. So here's all my tests here, and things are broken. Which makes me wonder, what on earth did I do? Yeah, so I wonder if my new filtering stuff broke this somehow. But even then, that's an interesting one. Okay, so trying to think, what's the fun one here? Okay, so let's just run this test real quick. I do have a meeting in about 4 minutes, but I want to see if I can at least get an idea of what I've done wrong here. Okay. So I update state. All right, so what are we doing here? So ignore state change when unhealthy. Interesting. So when I do that, expected nil, but could not retrieve GameServer default test because get GameServer. Okay, so we have. I'm willing to bet it's my filtering, but then I wonder why. I wonder what it does. Okay, so SDK test. So I'll tell you what. Let's. Oh, 3 minutes, but I wanna play with this. I want this to work. All right, so let's look here. Where are we? When we create our caching, filtered caching shared informer factory. Let's drop all this stuff. So no filtering. We're not going to filter a thing. All right, and run it again. Let's see if that breaks things. Imported, not used. I know. Let's get rid of that. All right. So at least we know what we're dealing with. Nope. Okay. Oh, I'm stupid. I'm sorry. I'm stupid. We have an informer. And that informer needs to be started. And we do not start it anywhere. That's the problem. All right. Start your informer. If we have a look real quick at, say, a controller, GameServer, for example, you can see we set up all these informers. Inside of run, where are we? There we go. Actually, is that? We wait for cache sync. Oh, you know where it is actually. It's not in the controller. Bear with me. Command, say controller, for example, main.go. So blah, 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 blah. We create these informer factories, which is awesome. And then we start them. So I need to look at how I want to do that, because maybe I need to pass in the informer factory instead, rather than something else. Or I could just start it myself, actually, which probably isn't the worst thing in the world. Normally I do that and then I call run. So yeah, maybe I start them inside my constructor. But that's probably what's going on there. So actually here. But what I will need then is a way to know that things have stopped. There's a bunch of fun stuff in here. Start your informer factory, which I currently have not done. All right, so I'll need to work that out. So let's get -a, get commit. Oh, it's 10 o'clock. I need to run. Do the thing in the to do. Cool. Now I'll push that. Git push. Really? Oh, I was running on a plane. Let me push that up so that I have a copy of that. So yeah, unfortunately I'm going to have to run just because I have some other things to do. But I appreciate you hanging out with me today. Usual streams are at this time, basically, 9 a.m. Tuesday Pacific, US. I might try and do one on Friday. We'll see how Friday rolls around. But with the upcoming US public holidays of Wednesday and Thursday, I think that's right. Apparently it's July 4th or something. I probably won't be doing another one this week, but we'll see what happens. Follow me on Twitter at Neurotic or here on Twitch at Mark Mandel. And then if you find this interesting, we'll hack on stuff some more and have some fun and all that other good stuff. All right. Well, thank you very much for hanging in. Tanya, it was great to see you too. Hopefully we'll see each other at PAX. That would be awesome. It'd be really great to catch up. And I'll catch you all later. See ya.